Hey there, and welcome to Microsoft Excel. I promise you that this video is going to be Excel-lent, and it's going to help you excel into the future at an accelerated pace. I have bad jokes. Alright guys, let's crack into this. What I'm going to be doing is showing you how to use some of the more basic and some intermediate skills in Microsoft Excel. I'm going to be following the brief, which is available to you to have a look at and follow along with as well. It's just in the resources folder. It's clearly labelled as the presenter's brief. So let's crack into it, shall we? Alrighty team. Now, I'm using the latest version of Microsoft Excel, Excel 16. You may be working on 10 or on some other sort of spreadsheet creation software. Now, some of the buttons and stuff may be in different places or may look a bit different, but they all do a very similar thing. So if your version of Excel looks a little bit different, don't worry. The processes of how to do things that I'm going to show you, how to create formulas, how to edit, it's pretty similar throughout all versions of Excel. So when you open Microsoft Excel, you're going to come out with a daunting screen like this, okay? You've got your navigator bar up here, so you've got File, which you click it to save your documents, to print it, to share it, to export it, all of those fun things. You've got your Home tab, and that's where you can do a lot of text manipulation, change the font and the size of your text, change the color of it, the alignment. Merge and center is a very important tool in Microsoft Excel. We'll have a play with that later. You can have a look at some of the different types of cells that you can create. So do you want your cell to just be a number cell? Do you want it to be currency? So if you're dealing with dollar signs accounting, you can have them as dates or times, percentage fractions, and a whole bunch of others. And then we've got some sum things here. So different types of sums that you can use in Excel, and we'll be looking at those later. Okay, you've got your Insert tab, where you can obviously insert things. You can insert pictures, shapes, icons. My icon up here has a little duck on it, that's quite cool. This is also where you can insert graphs, charts, text boxes, you can put in links. And again, there's more equations. Some of these are some pretty meaty looking equations. You've got the binomial theorem, you've got Pythagorean theorem, quadratics, you've got trigonometry. You're not going to need these, okay? These are some pretty advanced equations. We've got the page layout tab. This is obviously where you can change your page layout, so you can have themes for your Excel sheets, colors, fonts. You can play with the margins, orientation. Not going to look a lot different when you change the orientation in Excel, but it will change how it looks when it's printed. Same with the size, okay? And then, just like pretty much every other Microsoft program, you can send things to the back or bring them forward, if you're overlaying different objects. We've got a Formulas tab. This is where you can put in some more formulas. So we've got our sum there again, and that's the same sum button as is in the Home tab. You'll be wondering why there's the same button in two different areas. I think it's just because, Microsoft Excel really likes sums and formulas. We've got the Data tab, and this is where you can play and sort all of your data. So For us, the sort tab might be important later on. So do you sort it alphabetically, numerically, ascending or descending? So your A's at the top and Z's at the bottom, or Z's at the top and A's at the bottom. We've got our review tab. This is where we can do a spell check, look for different words using a thesaurus. Now a thesaurus is not a dinosaur, it's actually a type of a dictionary type scenario. We can add in comments. Comments are pretty handy if, let's say, your boss or your tutor is looking at a spreadsheet that you've handed them. They can put in a new comment and it doesn't show up when it's printed, but you can see it digitally, which is really quite handy. You've got view, so you can change the zoom. You can turn the grid lines on and off, same with headings. You can put in a page break, which is handy for printing. And you can set up some heroic macros. Now the next tab, help, is a pretty important tab, okay? This is where if you run into a little bit of drama and you don't want to watch this film again, or jump on Google and Google the answer, which I do recommend. Google is your best friend when learning how to use some new software. You know, you can jump on YouTube and there's YouTube help videos which are all really good. You can contact support, so you click on that and it like calls them, which is pretty cool. Or you can click on help, and when you click on help, it brings up this little bar on the right hand side, and you can either just type in what you need help with, or you can navigate through the table here. So that is how you're going to navigate through Microsoft Excel. Now, like all good software, you can use a range of shortcuts. Some of the easiest shortcuts are just your keyboard shortcuts like copy, paste, you know, Control C, Control V, Control P for print, your alignment, hotkeys, so Control R and Control L. So you've got all of these shortcuts that you can use. You can also use, you know, shortcuts on your mouse. So right click brings up the drop down menu so you can insert, format cells, copy, paste very quickly without going through the tabs. You can also have a look at navigating between sheets, okay? So in Microsoft Excel, you can be working on a bunch of different sheets at the same time. So let's say we're going to add a couple of sheets down the bottom here. We now have sheet 1, sheet 2 and sheet 3. And to navigate through those three sheets, you just click on the name of the sheet, which if you right click, I'm pretty sure that you can rename. You can go through the different sheets. So let's say I put in some typing in one sheet, okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight that, make it really big so it's easy to see, okay, and we go to sheet 3 and it's not there. That's because we're on a different sheet. So easy. And last but definitely not least, before we get into the really fun stuff, we've got some general screen display options. So like most Microsoft Office products, down on the right hand side here at the bottom toolbar, you can change the zoom, so bigger or smaller, or we can go file, we can go options, scroll down, they see me scrolling, they hating, go into advanced Excel options, scrolling dirty, yeah, sorry about that, okay. And what we can see is when we get down a bit, we can go into some advanced screen display options. So You can change the number of recent workbooks or sheets that you've worked on. This is pretty handy if you don't have good file management techniques and forget where you saved something. You can open up recent workbooks just by right-clicking on Excel, which is pretty handy. You can toggle show formula bar off and on, so this right here, okay, just above your sheet, but under the toolbar here is your formula bar. You can have that there or you can turn it off. I prefer just to have it there because it's a good reference for me to show what formulas I've got and where. You can turn on and off tips. You can say, no, I don't want any comments. Or you can change the default direction of entering data from right to left or left to right. Right? So there's a whole bunch of different display options that you can play with. Okay, so I, the presenter, have been given this brief for a spreadsheet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a bit of a read of it. So it looks like I've got a whole bunch of different formulas that I need to put in and manipulate. But first off, I can see my data. So it looks like I'm going to have to create a tab or a row, sorry, that's going to have the months. So that'll be going across the top. Then down the side, it looks like I'm going to have snack types. And then in that, I am going to have my data. So I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me input all of that information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to snap my finger and it'll instantly appear through the magic of editing. Okay? 3, 2, 1. That was a bad snap. That's better. Alrighty. So, we're back. And I spent literally hundreds of seconds entering in some data. So, how I did that was I'd put a cursor into one of the boxes and I would just type in a number. Then I'd click to the right or up or down and put in some more data. And I kept going. That was nice and easy. But now I have to do stuff. And doing stuff is actually kind of fun, okay? So now we can see that on my top row here with snack type and then all of the months here, if we have a look at September, November and December, the columns don't look wide enough. Okay, we can see that the word has been split into 2 separate lines. It's the end of the world. There is nothing we can do about this. Or maybe what we could do is get our cursor, hover between the column headings here, so in this case between J and K, and you can see the cursor will change from this weird thick little plus sign to this black line with arrows pointing left and right. And if you hold the left mouse, you can actually play with the width of the column. Easy. And you can also do that on the left hand side with the height of the cells. And when you click on it and hold down the left key, you'll see that it'll actually show you, it'll give you a reading of what the height is of the cell, both in pixels and in what I think are millimeters. That's awesome. That's ideal. Now, since I've typed in all this data, I've noticed that I've made a bit of a significant whoopsie. What is this whoopsie? I forgot to put in a title of my spreadsheet, and I didn't leave enough space at the top of my spreadsheet to write one. I've gone ahead and put January, February, March, all the way to December in the first row. That means that if I wanted to put in a title, I'd need to delete all of this and start again, or push everything down. But I don't really feel like doing that. So what I'm going to do is, because I need a couple of extra rows, I'm going to right click, okay, on the 1 here. Make sure you do it on the grey part where the 1 is. And I'm going to hit insert. And that inserts a new row. We'll do that again. Insert. Choice. You can also insert columns by doing the same thing. So now we can see a new column here. But I don't really need a new column, so I'm just going to go undo using the undo button here. If you make a mistake, that's all you need to do is undo. If you decide that you actually kind of like what you did before and want it back, slightly to the right of the undo button is the redo button. You just click that, okay? So undo, redo, redo. If you put a nice sort of backing track to undo, redo, you could probably have like a really good sort of dubstep song, because dubstep's cool. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to put a title here, and that title will be Jonathan's Snack Consumption. Then on the next line, 2017. Now we can see that that's not really a good looking title, yeah? It doesn't really stand out, and it's not really in the center either. But how do I put it in the center? Do I just like start writing it in the G column? Or do I highlight everything from A to M, which is the size of my spreadsheet at the moment, and hit the magical button of merge and center? What we can see is now all of those boxes, okay, all of those cells have become one big cell. That's pretty handy. And so now I can highlight and I can manipulate my text. I can make it bigger, I can change the font. Let's go Accent SF. Now we can see that I have a pretty good looking title there, and I'm going to do the same with 2017. Okay, I'm going to merge and center that. Okay, so that's how you merge and center, and you know how you just play with the appearance of your font. So that's cool. That should keep us entertained for a while, you'd think. But we can't get hung up on it because we've got more stuff to learn. Like, let's say we wanted to merge the cells, but we didn't want our text centered. Well, to change the alignment of text, we go up here in the Home tab. Okay, under Alignment, you'll see that we can right align it, left align it, center it, okay, and we can also align it by height. So we could have it center aligned. If the cell was really quite thick like that, we could pop it up the top, at the bottom, bottom right, top left. I think you catch the drift. Now, one trick that we have to making our spreadsheet look quite nice has to do with borders, okay? Now on the screen here we can see the borders of all the cells, but if we were to print it like this, we wouldn't see the squares around the cells. So what we have to do is put in the borders ourselves. And to do that, there is a really quick way of doing this. In the Home tab, under Font, you'll see this weird little box here with an arrow. This is our border creator. So let's say I want to put in a right hand border. All I would do is go right hand border. We can see there's now a dark line down here. And that dark line is going to show when it's printed. We've just made our first border. Let's say I wanted a bottom border up here. Well, what you do is highlight the cells that you want and you go bottom border. That's awesome. You can also, do all borders, which can be quite striking. You can have thick borders. One of my favorites is this top and double bottom border. So it'll put a top line, okay, on your cells, and then it'll have a double line underneath your cells, and it just looks really, really nice, okay? It makes it very easy to differentiate between different types of data. And then obviously, if we go down into the arrow again, we can change the line color. So we could have a green border or a nice orange border, maybe even a mauve border, okay? Mauve is a good color. We can also change the style of the lines and the thickness, okay? What I'm doing there is I'm actually drawing borders, which is quite cool. But I'm going to go ahead and undo that because I really don't want to do that. Cool. Okie dokie. So now that I've got all of my data inputted on my spreadsheet here, when I'm looking at my spreadsheet brief, point number 1 is to make a total of each snack eaten throughout the year. Okay, so what they want is a total of each snack throughout the year. Now I can get my calculator out and I can plug in all the numbers, but that seems like a bit of a mission. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a new total called yearly snack consumption total. Cool. So now in this column, this is where all of my totals are going to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up into auto sum, okay, and I'm going to click sum, because essentially I want the sum or the total of all of these combined. So you can see that I've got this funny little border going around the text, around my data. That's all the data that it's going to be doing the sum for. Now it's auto-populated it correctly, but you can also define just by left click and drag which numbers to highlight. So I want all of the numbers for the entire year. So it goes equals sum B4 to M4, and I click enter, and it's automatically calculated the total. And we can see up here that it's got the formula in the formula bar. That's pretty handy for keeping track of what's going on. Now I could do that individually for each of my snack types, but that's going to take a bit of time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the cell that I've got my sum in, and at the bottom right hand corner of the cell is a little dot. I'm going to click that little dot and I'm going to drag all the way down. Now what this does is it's going to automatically auto-populate the cells with the same formula. And so what it's done is for this cell, if I double click it, it's gone and given me the sum of all of the data in that row. That is pretty handy. That is really the power of Microsoft Excel, is being able to do sums like this really quickly. Alrighty. Next, having a look at point number 2 on my spreadsheet brief, it's looking like I need to make a total of the amount of snacks eaten per month. So what that's asking for is it wants a total of the columns here. So every month the total amount of snacks eaten. So I'm not really going to easily be able to put that in a new column like I did with the yearly snack consumption total. It's looking like I'm going to need to put it down here along a row. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and type in monthly total. Okay. And again, I am going to go auto sum. Actually no, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it the long way to show you that you can actually manually input data, well, sums. So I'm going to go equals, and we're going to go and click on the first piece of data. Then we're going to go plus, 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 plus. I've put in a lot of pluses there. Plus this, plus that, plus this, plus this, plus this. Okay, and we go equals, and it brings up my total, and we can see in the formula bar, it's got equals B4 plus B5 plus B6, blah 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 blah, all the way to B15. So you can actually manually type them in like that. And then just like before, we can click on our little dot, drag it all the way across to auto-populate. So if we were to double click on one of our totals, our monthly totals, we will see all of the data highlighted that's been in there. And you'll notice that this row here has been missed out of the equation. So that's pretty handy. Alright, next on my spreadsheet brief, it's asking me to forecast how many snacks Jonathan would eat in 2018 if he reduced his snack intake by 50%. First off, I need my title. 2018 forecast. And I'm going to type in 2017 total minus 15%. So we've got my 2018 forecast, and I'm showing what that entails. So there's a few ways I can do this, but the way I'm going to show you is I'm going to go enter, click on the total yearly forecast. Now to minus 15%, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go times 0.85. So this is saying, okay, I want to know what 85% of this yearly snack consumption total is. And I click enter. There we go, I have my number. And then I drag and drop it all the way down. Alternatively, what I could do, I'm just going to press undo. Another way that I could work this out is I could go enter, go click on that, and then I would go times 0.15. So that's asking what is 15% of 1507? 226. Okay. So now what I could do is I could go enter the original total, then I hit minus, so I'm doing a subtraction, the 15% equals 120 or 1280.95, which was the same total we got the other way. So it is just two separate ways of doing the same task. One, I just figured out using simple math the percentage of what it would be if we got rid of 15%, so I timesed it by 85%. The other way, I took away 15%, I found out what 15% of the total number was, and then subtracted that number from the original total. So sometimes when you're using formula, it's just a good idea to think about what you're doing logically, and then the rest of it is just smooth sailing. Okay, my next point in my brief is asking to show the difference between 2017's snack total and 2018's snack total. This is quite easy to do. So first off, put in my title. So the difference, how do we find that? What we're going to do is we are going to use a subtraction formula. So we go equals, we hit the original total, 2017, because we're trying to find the difference, minus 2018's total, hit enter, bang. The difference between 2017 2018 in terms of M&M consumption is forecasted to be 226. So what this data is saying is if Jonathan reduced his snack intake by 15%, over a year he'd be eating 226 less M&Ms. And how do we auto-populate the rest of the data? Left click on the box, drag her down, bang, easy. Now what we have to do, we've been asked to show how many calories Jonathan consumes each year for each snack. So we need to figure out how many calories this guy's eating. Well, this is going to be like a two-stage process. First, what I need to do is I need to type in the amount of calories for each snack that's going to be counted. So what I'm going to do is I am going to right click on the N column and I'm going to insert a row. Okay, and then I'm going to type in calories. So that's how you insert a row in a column, guys. So if you wanted to put in a column or a row somewhere in the middle, you just right click in your column bar or in your rows over on the left hand side and hit insert, and it inserts a new column or row. Nice and easy. So I'm going to stop the recording so you don't have to watch me just insert all of the calorie amounts, and we'll pick it up when it's time to do some calculations, okay? Okay, team. So what we've done is we have created and filled out a new column called calories. And we want to know how many calories this guy Jonathan is consuming each year for each type of snack. So what we want to do is insert a new column, okay, and we're going to call it total calories consumed. Okay, so what I'm going to do to work that out, to work out how many calories he's eaten for each snack type over a year, we're going to want to multiply the amount of calories per snack by the total snacks eaten per year. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to type in a formula to multiply the calories by the yearly snack consumption total. So again, we hit enter. 3 times 1510 equals, so over a year Jonathan will consume 4,530 calories from M&Ms. Auto-populate the rest of the column. We can see some huge amounts of calories here. Bags of chips is going to be enormous. That's well over 2 million calories consumed each year in chips. That's a lot of calories, guys. I didn't realize that number was going to be that big. Now it's quite hard to work that number out, right, because there's no commas. So what I might want to do is highlight my column, right click, I'm going to go Format Cells. And in Format Cells, I can pick the type of number I want. Is it a general? Is it a number with decimal places? That's what I'm going to go with. Is it a price? Okay, so if the cell is denoting money, you'd put it in as currency. You can also go date, time, percentage, fraction. But I want 2 decimal places with my number, and I want to use the 1000 separator. That's your little comma that you use to denote, you know, the difference between thousands and hundreds, or millions and thousands, okay? And I'm going to click OK. And you can see that that's formatted that column of cells there. So now they have 2 decimal places, and they have the comma in between the hundreds, thousands and millions. So it makes it a little bit easier just to identify what those numbers mean. As we move down the brief, we will see that I've been asked to give a monthly average calorie consumption for each snack. Okay, so we want an average of this number. That's nice and easy to do. Right, we actually want an average of this number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a new column, and I'm going to go monthly average calories. Okay, so how are we going to do that? Well, what we're going to do that is we're going to go equals, and we're going to go total calories consumed divided by 12, because there's 12 months in a year, and so the total over 12 months divided by 12 will give us our average. That's just simple mathematics. So our monthly average of calories for M&Ms is 377.5. And again, to get the rest of the snacks, we just drag down. Easy. what we want to do is move the camera so you can see this part of the spreadsheet. There we go. Is she in focus? Yeah, it is. Now, point 8 says we need to find the snack that was eaten the most in any given month. Well, that's going to be quite an easy thing to do. We could either, just trawl through all of this data to find which one was eaten the most, or what we could do is type in maximum consumption. Okay, drag that out a bit. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to our auto sum, click the down arrow and click max, okay? Now what max does is it says I want the highest number out of this group of numbers. And we hit max 1000. So the amount of a total snack eaten that was the highest was 1000. And if we have a look to December for M&Ms, there was 1000 eaten. So that's how you run the max. And the other thing that we can do is if we wanted to find the minimum consumption, we would go to auto sum and hit min or minimum, and that finds the smallest number. Alright, so point 9 says that it wants me to do something on a separate worksheet. So I need to make a new worksheet. That's easy enough to do. All I have to do is at the bottom left of the screen, click the plus, which adds a new sheet and is nice and empty. Alright, what we want to do on this separate worksheet is we want to forecast Jonathan's 2019 snack intake if it reduced another 15% from 2018. So if we go back to our original sheet, we could copy and paste the 2018 forecast, okay? Because that would make sense, right? So I've copied it, and we go copy and paste. So what that's done is that's put down the numbers here. But I did something a little bit crazy. When I was pasting it, I didn't just go paste as normal, because you see if I do that, it comes up with all these weird cells that just say reference. And that's because these cells here were created by formulas. The numbers were created by formulas. They're dependent on other numbers within the spreadsheet. In this case, they're dependent on the yearly snack consumption total, which is in itself dependent on all of the data here. So if we were to do just a normal copy and paste, that number, it wouldn't be able to generate on the new sheet because there's nothing for it to calculate. But if I go right click, I'm actually going to have to copy this here again. So if I go copy into spreadsheet 3, right click and just paste as the little numbers here as values, it will work. Alright, so that's how you're going to want to do that type of thing. Now I want to get rid of all of this data here because it's just superfluous to my needs. So I'm going to highlight the whole column, right click, go delete, and it just deletes that entire column. Now, all I have to do from here is make my 2019 snack consumption total, let's go forecast, and that is going to be 2018 minus another 15%. And all we do is we just do the same thing that we did earlier. We go equals, select the relevant data, times 0.85 equals, okay, we've got 3 decimal points there. I don't want 3 decimal points. I'm going to format that cell. I want it to be a number, and I want no decimal points. Okay. Cool. Then we just drag it all the way down, and that is our forecast of Jonathan's snack consumption for 2019. That's epic. From here, all I need to do is make everything look nice. So merge and center. Play with the font. You see where I'm going with this. So that is the end of my first brief.